Ian, it's quite exciting times for looking ahead to the new season because we have the new Border Junior League, which is happening. We'll go into the detail of that very shortly. But the reserve leagues that have been going on over the past few years have created their own issues, haven't they, with player involvement, teams not turning up and that sort of thing. So something had to be done.
Absolutely, and I think all of the clubs in the Borders realised that something needed to be done. I think it was a fairly clear and obvious issue that was going on, which was a lot of times teams were not travelling from the city down to the Borders, and also when teams were travelling up to the Borders, depending on the league that they were in, some of the teams were recording 120, 130 point wins, which it doesn't really help the players on either side, because the ones getting beat by that figure don't come back. The ones that are winning by that, they're not taking the game seriously. So the Border League itself, they've been looking at this possibility of making it a more regional league. So all the 7 main Border League clubs, their second 15s, over time agreed that this was the right move. So all the 7 teams got together. We've now got a fixture list. We've got a set of rules for the competition, which we're just finalising. And it all kicks off on 2nd of September.
And a lot of players, obviously, these days after they've had several seasons, they want to stay local, and there's been this big drive for more local rugby rather than national rugby. So it was quite surprising to see a 5th division in national rugby, meaning we've now got 50 teams instead of 40 odd playing national rugby. So this was kind of inevitable that it was going to happen in the Borders.
I think so. I mean, obviously we've got the senior clubs that are all involved, sort of Premiership, National 1, National 2. We've got the second 15s, and again, it's the commitment levels are different to first 15 rugby. We've got people that play that want to play every week and want to better themselves and play first 15 rugby, and we've also got those that just want a game of rugby on a Saturday afternoon. And I think this has been the major drive from the group that have been set up, is to promote this as something that we want to get people back into playing rugby. It's quite innovative in that we're looking at saying the fixtures will come out as a Saturday, but clubs are encouraged to speak to each other during the week when you play each other, to play Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, whatever suits. Hopefully that'll bring more people back to the game. So we've now hopefully get to the stage where we've got squads of 22 plus extras every week, so that the clubs are starting to flourish and then provide more players for their first 15 as well.
Now, the name of the league is the Border Junior League. I kind of glanced at it and thought, well, why is it called the Junior League? When I think of junior, I think of Galloway, Earlston and Langham and places like that. But there is a reason behind it.
Yeah, so originally the Border Junior League, which I think started in the sort of early 1900s, that was set up as the Border Junior League, and it included the likes of Gala seconds, Kelso seconds, the Lindeen, Hoyk Harlequins, Galloway, all these clubs. There was a sort of drive towards this that in time, depending on how things go and how the league itself is received, we might get back to the stage where we can increase the teams from the 7 that are there, and the likes of the Hoyk Lindeen, Hoyk Harlequins, Earlston, Galloway, Duns, these clubs, they may see an increase in fortunes. They might their level might improve, and they might want to get back involved in this and play local rugby themselves. So rather than the second 15 league, which pretty much restricts it to the 7 teams, we've given clubs an opportunity to potentially be involved in the future, which I think was the drive behind doing it that way.
What about the laws then? Because there's a few little changes. It's
the encouragement really of getting people to play. So second 15 nationally, if a club didn't play or didn't fulfil a fixture, it was a 28-0 win for the other club. We've looked at it and said that we want rugby played every week, so there won't be any walkovers, if you like. So again, ideally we're going to be playing with full squads. We're going to have full front rows, 22 players in a squad, but being realistic, we appreciate that might not happen. So the ability to play with 15 or less is fine. So the game on principles that have been put in place by Scottish Rugby and the laws of the game are going to be the underpin and the fundamentals. A couple other changes that we're looking to make, still undecided on scrummage laws, so we'll look at that. But also, one of the biggest concerns was if you have a pool of, say, 20, 22 players, but you didn't have the requisite number of suitably trained front row forwards, you couldn't have replacements as per the laws of the game. So we've basically decided we'll put that to one side. If a team have only 3 front row and they've got 22 in the squad, then they're allowed to play the 22, and it'll be rolling subs as it's been for the last few years. So it's really the encouragement of getting people to get out there and play a game. And just because you're one front row forward short, we shouldn't lose 3 or 4 players from that squad who can't then play that weekend. We're also looking at the possibility of clubs loaning players to other clubs. So the way the fixtures are going to work, as I said before, any night of the week if you want to, or a Saturday, with it being 7 teams, there's only going to be 3 fixtures each week, so one team will get a bye. So again, if a team are struggling through various reasons, they'll be able to call upon other clubs, and the encouragement to each of the clubs will be to make your players available to play for other clubs. And we've, it's been okayed that there's not this restriction on only being able to play for 2 or 3 clubs. So somebody could play for 5, 6 clubs in the season to make sure that teams get games and we can play under as close to the laws of the game that we want to try and do as possible.
So it seems that there's been a good buy-in from the local clubs. Also the SRU more or less saying, look, we approve, get on with it.
Absolutely. I mean, the buy-in from the clubs has been great. This has been on the cards for a while. There was certainly a couple of clubs who were unsure and were going towards staying within the national leagues, but they've changed their mind, which is good for the league itself. As far as Scottish Rugby are concerned, they've pretty much said, the league's there for you. They've been very supportive in understanding that we're trying as a region to push this forward and hopefully get more players playing the game, and they realise that's the emphasis of what we're trying to do.
So a lot of people outside of the borders will be casting an eye on how things develop in this season, and it could all lead to quite a bit of change.
Well, it could do, and I think that there's still this intercity league at second 15 level. I think the clubs will probably look at what we're doing. I don't think it's any different to where the border league's been for the 100 and odd years it's been around. There's a template there, it works. We hope this will work, and if other areas want to, in essence, copy what we're doing, that's fine. One other thing that we've discussed, not necessarily at great length, but we've talked about the situation now that we've got the South of Scotland up and running. There used to be district championship for clubs of a junior level. So that's something that we're looking at, maybe not necessarily for this year, but certainly for coming seasons, is do we get a South District Union team, which is made up of second 15s, to play against Edinburgh, Glasgow and Northern Midlands, potentially as curtain raisers to the main inter-district championship. So things like that we're looking at. We've also put in towards the end of the season 10s competitions and 7s competitions. So for anybody that's starting afresh this year, any clubs to look at a fixture list, we've got a league fixture that runs from the 2nd of September to the 2nd of December. We've got a break after that, unless we need any standby dates. We'll then move in a cup competition at the start of January, where we'll play it off as a one pool system, so everybody gets 6 games each. Then we get to a final, and after that we've got the potential for 3 sevens tournaments. And again, we're trying to keep away at times from Six Nations, but the fact is that because we can play Wednesday, Thursday or Friday nights, you can play it in Six Nations weeks, and you don't have to worry about any rules and regulations with Scottish Rugby, but also it means that players can maybe play Thursday night and organise something to watch the rugby or go to the international on the Saturday. And
certainly the 10-team leagues this season hopefully is going to solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever the number is in the league, if we can get decent weather as well, I mean, what will happen after the league's finished, that's still up for debate as to whether it's a cup competition or whether it's border league or whatever, and I know that's still up in the air. There's a lot of good things happening. I think it will mean that potentially there'll be fewer games played, which I think we all sort of recognise that the season probably is too long for amateurs, and we're certainly, when we get to the sevens at the end of the season, I think everybody's probably had enough by the last couple of weeks. So we've got to look after the players. It's a different type of game to it was in the past. It's a much more physical game, so the players need that rest. And I think certainly with the Border Junior League, that you're going to get a rest one week in 7, so you're going to have that day off anyway. That's all pre-planned. So hopefully with that, people who have got plans to do things, they can do it in the week where they've got that bye week. And I think certainly from what the likes of Peebles and Jed and Selkirk have been saying about games they've had on Thursday nights, there's actually been some good interest. They've had a crowd. Potentially it's going to put a bit of money over the bar for the club as well. So for me, it's a huge positive. It's something we're managing ourselves. And I think if we hadn't tried something with the way it was going, it's potentially going to slide. And this is a great opportunity. If you don't try it, you'll never find out if it's going to work or fail.